My ex laughed when I said, "I'll be famous one day." The memory still burns like acid in my veins whenever I replay it. His mocking smile, the casual cruelty in his eyes as he dismissed 4 years together and every dream I'd ever shared. Now he's called after seeing me on a billboard, and the irony tastes like the sweetest poison I've ever swallowed. The phone vibrates against my kitchen counter, his name flashing on the screen like a warning sign. 5 years of silence broken by 3 missed calls and a voicemail that sits unplayed. My fingers hover over the screen, trembling not from fear but from something darker, more primal. The satisfaction of knowing he's seen what I've become burns through me like wildfire. I remember the night he destroyed us with perfect clarity. My exhibition acceptance letter had arrived that morning, the breakthrough I'd been working toward since college. The champagne I'd splurged on sat chilling in our refrigerator. I'd spent hours preparing his favorite meal, candles waiting to be lit. I'd practiced saying it aloud in the mirror, "This is just the beginning. One day everyone will know my name." But he never showed for dinner. When he finally stumbled home past midnight, his collar carried another woman's perfume, and his eyes couldn't quite meet mine. The half-empty bottle of champagne sweated beside cold, untouched food. When confronted, the truth spilled out of him, not just that night's betrayal, but months of lies. And when I said through tears that he'd regret this, that one day I'd be famous and he'd realize what he'd thrown away, his laugh cut deeper than any knife could reach. That laugh echoes as I stare at his name on my phone screen, 5 years compressed into a single electronic pulse. 5 years of rebuilding myself from the broken pieces he left behind. 5 years of turning pain into art so raw and real that the world finally started paying attention. My hand still shakes as I delete the voicemail without listening. Not yet. The moment demands something more than an impulsive reaction. The universe has handed me a gift wrapped in vindication, and I intend to savor unwrapping it slowly. The Billboard campaign launched last week, my face 40 feet high over Sunset Boulevard, my new collection featured in every major design magazine this month. Success tastes different than I imagined, less like triumph and more like quiet validation. Yet seeing his name on my phone transforms that flavor instantly into something headier, more intoxicating. Sleep eludes me that night. My penthouse offers views of the city that once felt impossibly out of reach. Lights twinkle below like earthbound stars, but my mind remains fixed on darkness, the shadows of memories I thought I'd finally outrun. His laugh. The way my heart shattered so completely I thought I might die from it. The moment I decided that success would be my sweetest revenge, morning brings 3 more missed calls and a text asking to meet. Each notification sends a jolt through my system, half dread, half dark anticipation. I find myself standing before my closet, considering outfits with the strategic precision of a general planning battle. Not yet, I remind myself. The game has only just begun, and timing is everything. My assistant notices my distraction during our morning meeting. The coffee between my palms has gone cold, my attention drifting between spreadsheets and revenge fantasies that bloom like poisonous flowers in my mind. When she asks if everything's all right, I offer a smile that doesn't quite reach my eyes. Just tired, I tell her. Just processing the surreality of seeing my face on billboards across the city. What I don't say, that success feels strangely hollow until someone who hurt you witnesses it. That revenge and validation have become so intertwined in my mind that I can no longer separate them. That part of me has been waiting 5 years for precisely this moment. By afternoon, I've crafted a response so casual it borders on art. Coffee sounds nice. I'm pretty busy with the campaign, but could squeeze something in next week. The calculated indifference of every word feels like applying war paint. I press send and imagine him reading it, wondering if I remember how he broke me, unaware that I've been reconstructing myself specifically for this moment. His reply comes almost instantly, eager, grateful, too many exclamation points. He suggests my favorite cafe from before, proving his memory works perfectly when it serves him. My smile feels sharp enough to draw blood as I confirm the date. The cafe where he first told me he loved me. The cafe where, unknowingly, he'll soon discover exactly who I've become. The week before our meeting stretches like taffy, simultaneously too slow and too fast. I throw myself into work with renewed intensity. Each interview about my overnight success makes me want to laugh. If only they knew about the 1,000 sleepless nights, the relentless drive born not just from ambition, but from the need to prove him wrong. Success built on the foundation of heartbreak. My best friend warns me over wine that meeting him might reopen old wounds. Her concern warms me even as I dismiss it. What she doesn't understand is that the wounds never closed. They transformed, becoming part of my skeleton, strengthening me in ways that pure happiness never could. Besides, I assure her I'm not the same person he destroyed. I'm not walking into this with any illusions or vulnerability. The night before our meeting, I dream of him for the first time in years. Not the nightmare I might have expected, but something more insidious. Us in our old apartment, happy, his arms around me as we laugh about something inconsequential. I wake up gasping, drenched in sweat and something that feels dangerously like longing. The weakness infuriates me. 5 years of building armor against exactly this, and still my subconscious betrays me. I spend 3 hours getting ready, crafting an appearance that suggests effortless success. Hair arranged in careful dishevelment, makeup that enhances without seeming to try, the cashmere sweater that cost more than our entire first apartment's rent, subtle jewelry that anyone who knows the industry would recognize as exclusive designer pieces. Every element a silent declaration, I am untouchable now. The cafe has changed little in 5 years, though I have. Walking in 7 minutes late, a calculated delay, I spot him immediately. He's aged in small ways, lines around his eyes, a slight softening at the jaw, but it's the nervousness in his posture that strikes me most, the way he straightens when he sees me, the naked admiration that flashes across his face before he can compose himself. My heart hammers against my ribs as I approach, and I despise the physical response, the way my body remembers him despite everything. His cologne hits me first, the same as always, triggering memories I've worked years to suppress. His smile seems genuine as he stands, arms half raised for a hug I smoothly avoid by sliding into my seat. The flash of disappointment in his eyes feeds something hungry inside me. I order without looking at the menu, my usual from 5 years ago, and notice how this impresses him, as if my unchanged coffee preference somehow connects us across the chasm of betrayal and time. Our conversation starts with careful small talk, each of us testing boundaries. He compliments the Billboard, my success, how amazing it is to see me fulfilling my potential. Each word feels like a coin dropped into my collection of grievances. When he finally mentions that night, his tone is carefully contrite, eyes appropriately downcast. He was young and stupid, he explains, scared of commitment, overwhelmed by my ambition when his own career felt stagnant. The excuses pile up like autumn leaves, brittle and ultimately meaningless. What strikes me most is what's missing from his apology, any recognition of how completely he shattered me, how his mockery of my dreams haunted me through countless nights of self-doubt. I nod in all the right places, my expression a masterpiece of polite interest masking the storm beneath. He grows more animated as I appear to soften, mistaking my silence for forgiveness. When he suggests dinner next week, somewhere nice, his treat, the trap I've been mentally constructing springs shut with perfect precision. The coffee turns bitter on my tongue as I agree with a smile that doesn't reach my eyes. My phone conveniently chimes with a work emergency that cuts our reunion short. Standing to leave, I rest my hand briefly on his shoulder, feeling him lean into the touch like a flower towards sunlight. See you next week, I promise, already knowing exactly how the story will end. The following days pass in a blur of preparation. Each meeting, each decision filtered through the lens of my upcoming revenge. I call in favors, arrange details with meticulous care. At night, I scroll through his social media profiles, studying the life he's built without me. Middle management at a marketing firm. A succession of relationships, none lasting more than a year. Photographs that try too hard to project happiness and success. My therapist, yes, I finally started seeing one last year, would call this an unhealthy fixation. Would remind me that true healing means letting go of the past, not orchestrating elaborate payback scenarios. But some wounds go too deep for conventional healing. Some betrayals demand more than passive forgiveness. The restaurant I choose for our dinner is the most exclusive in the city, impossible to get into without connections, which I now have in abundance. The maitre d' greets me by name when I arrive, deliberately 15 minutes late this time. The satisfaction of watching heads turn as I'm escorted to the best table in the house almost equals the pleasure of seeing his expression when I arrive, awe mixed with a touch of intimidation. He's dressed in what's clearly his best suit, now slightly outdated and a poor fit for his frame. The contrast between us couldn't be more stark or more deliberate. My outfit costs more than he likely makes in 2 months. The diamond earrings catch the light as I tilt my head, watching recognition dawn in his eyes. They're similar to ones I'd once pointed out in a magazine, dreaming aloud, only to have him tell me to be more realistic about what we could afford. Dinner unfolds like the performance it is. I allow him to order wine, hiding my amusement when he selects one that the sommelier and I both know is an inferior vintage. I ask about his life with what appears to be genuine interest, noting how he embellishes achievements and glosses over failures. He's still handsome in the conventional way that first attracted me, but now I see the hollowness behind his charm, the desperate need for validation that drives every anecdote. When the conversation inevitably turns to us, to the possibility of rekindling what we had, I let him ramble, watching the hope build in his eyes. He's missed me, he confesses. Seeing my face on that billboard was like a sign from the universe. He's always regretted how things ended between us. He was a fool to let me go. The waiter appears with champagne I ordered secretly before arriving. His eyes light up at what he assumes is my response to his declarations. The bubbles rise in our glasses like my anticipation, effervescent and slightly sharp. I raise my glass in a toast, and he mirrors the gesture eagerly, already imagining himself back in my life, basking in the reflected glow of my success. That's when I introduce my actual date for the evening, who approaches our table with perfect timing. The gallery owner who gave me my first major show, the man who believed in my talent when I was still healing from heartbreak. My fiancé now, though the ring has remained hidden in my purse all evening, part of the theater I've orchestrated. The color drains from my ex's face as comprehension dawns. The champagne was never a response to his confessions, but a celebration of my engagement, announced in this morning's arts section of the paper he clearly doesn't read. His presence at this dinner was never about reconciliation, but about closure. My closure, on my terms. What follows is both less dramatic and more devastating than the scene I've imagined for years. No raised voices or public confrontation. Just the quiet dismantling of his assumptions as my fiancé joins us, warm and confident and genuinely oblivious to the psychological warfare playing out at the table. The three of us finish dinner in a surreal pantomime of civility that costs him visibly more with each passing minute. When he excuses himself to the restroom, my fiancé squeezes my hand and whispers that my ex seems like a decent guy, but clearly still carries a torch for me. The observation, so accurate yet so incomplete, nearly breaks my composure. If only he knew the full story. The mockery, the betrayal, the years spent rebuilding myself with revenge as mortar between the bricks. When my ex returns, his mask of composure has been hastily reconstructed. He congratulates us with forced enthusiasm, declines dessert, insists on covering the bill despite my fiancé's protests. I allow this small dignity, this attempt to save face. The evening ends with awkward handshakes and promises to keep in touch that we all know are lies. Outside the restaurant, watching him walk away, I expect to feel triumphant. The perfect revenge executed flawlessly, showing him exactly what he lost, what he mocked, what he never believed possible. Instead, I feel a curious emptiness, as if the space previously occupied by resentment has been vacated without anything rushing in to fill it. That night, I tell my fiancé everything, the true history between me and my ex, the calculated nature of the evening, the years of fantasizing about this moment. I expect judgment or disappointment. Instead, he listens with the same quiet understanding that first drew me to him, then asks only one question. Did it give you what you needed? I don't have an answer, not immediately. The revenge was perfect in execution but strangely unsatisfying in result, like expecting fireworks and getting only a brief flicker of light. 3 days later, my ex sends a text that I read while preparing for a major interview. Its simplicity catches me off guard. I really am happy for you. You deserve all of this. I'm sorry I couldn't see it back then. The words sink into me slowly, finding cracks in armor I thought impenetrable. Not because I suddenly forgive him. Some betrayals leave permanent marks. But because I realize revenge was never what I truly wanted. What I wanted was acknowledgement, recognition of the pain he caused, validation that my dreams weren't laughable fantasies but achievable goals. In the end, my greatest revenge wasn't the carefully orchestrated dinner or the engagement announcement or even my success itself. It was the journey from brokenness to wholeness, accomplished not to prove anything to him, but because I refused to let his mockery define my limits. My face remains on billboards across the city for 6 more weeks. Sometimes, driving past them at night, I think about how many others might see them. Ex-lovers, doubters, those who said no when I needed yes. I wonder if they think of me, if they regret their lack of faith, if they tell stories about knowing me before I became who I am now. But increasingly, these thoughts feel like echoes from someone else's life. The girl who was broken by betrayal. The woman who built success on the foundation of proving someone wrong. They're part of me but no longer define me. The Billboard campaign ends, replaced by another brand, another face. My collection sells out completely. Life continues its forward momentum. Sometimes revenge isn't about making someone else suffer, but about reclaiming the narrative they tried to write for you. Sometimes the most powerful response to mockery isn't proving the mocker wrong, but forgetting why their opinion ever mattered at all. My ex doesn't call again after that text. Perhaps he finally understands that some bridges, once burned, leave only smoke and memory, not even ashes substantial enough to rebuild from. Perhaps he's found his own path toward becoming someone better than the man who laughed at my dreams. As for me, I keep the newspaper clipping of my billboard in a box of mementos, not as a trophy of revenge, but as a milestone marker on a journey that began long before him and continues long after. My name appears in places I once only dreamed about. My work speaks for itself now, no longer shadowed by the need to prove anything to anyone. And on quiet nights when success feels both surreal and insufficient, I remind myself that the girl who was once laughed at for her ambitions didn't just become famous. She became free. Free from the need for external validation. Free from defining her worth through someone else's recognition. Free to create not from wound but from wonder. That, I've learned, is the sweetest revenge of all, to heal so completely that the person who hurt you becomes irrelevant to your story. To look back and realize that what once felt like an ending was merely the difficult beginning of becoming exactly who you were always meant to be.